Greetings, I'm Karen Colligan, and welcome to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. So why do I care about leadership? As a founder of PeopleThink, and in my tenure as a leader, and as a consultant, and as a coach, I've certainly seen my share of very good leaders and my share of very bad leaders. And I thought, it'd be great to share the wisdom from the very good leaders. Hence the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. You're going to hear from a variety of leaders who are in a variety of roles, sharing their leadership expertise by answering the same 6 questions. Every single leader is unique in their style and approach, and we want to capture that uniqueness and provide you, the listener, with a diverse way of looking at leadership. So let's get moving and talk to our next leadership guest. In this episode, I am thrilled to be speaking to Jessica Oliveira-Haddad, who is the Senior Vice President of UC TFC at Cayuga Centers. We're going to hear all about Jessica's approach to leadership. So Jessica, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. We love that. Love that. Love that. So Jessica, tell us a little bit about who you are and then give us a snapshot of what Cayuga Centers does before we even get into our leadership conversation.
Sure. So a little bit about me. I am Latina and my background is Peruvian, Brazilian, Bolivian. So my mom is Peruvian, my dad is Brazilian and Bolivian, and I was born here. I was born and raised in Queens, New York, and at this moment, I reside in Long Island with my beautiful family. So I work for Cayuga Centers. I am the Senior Vice President there.
Okay, so Jessica, tell us a little bit about the Cayuga Centers and how you got involved in it and a little bit about what they do.
Sure. So actually, I had just moved back to New York from London. I was residing in London for about a year and I was looking for something. I just had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I was in social work, but I had no idea what population I wanted to work with. It just so happened that I saw this posting up looking for a case manager and I said, I'm going for it. And it happened to be in immigration, which is something so close to my heart because my parents did come here undocumented many years ago. They're citizens now.
Yeah.
So this is very close to my heart. And I started off as a case manager and then I just kept getting promoted. And as I went back to school, got more degrees, I ended up becoming the senior vice president. I worked really hard for it.
I bet you did.
I'm here now. So Cayuga Centers has many programs all over the states. The Unaccompanied Children Transitional Foster Care Program is an 1,100-bed program where we serve the minors who are crossing the border. So we have minors from all over. Although the majority come from Central America, we have received minors from China, from India, different parts of Africa. Our goal is to unify these minors as quickly and as safely as possible with their potential sponsors here in the United States. So while these minors are under our care, we provide case management, clinical, therapeutic services, medical services. These minors have access to legal services and child advocates. And so our goal is just to quickly and safely unify these minors with their sponsors.
Wow. Wow. Now, wow. You have a very big job, Jessica. You have a very big job. No, yeah, that's fascinating. And I cannot wait to continue this conversation. Love that. Thank you for that. So I appreciate you being here today and let's get into our conversation. So let's start. First things first. There are so many ways, Jessica, to define leadership because it's so personal to every person. And so I like to start off our conversations with, tell me, how do you define leadership?
That's an interesting question. So I read somewhere that leadership is the accomplishment of a goal through the direction of human assistance.
Mm,
And that always stood out for me. I feel like allowing people to understand the goal and just why it is important is part of leadership.
hmm
Your unique approach and I guess your relationship with your team is crucial to working towards that goal.
hmm
So, as a leader, I believe that one must understand and just build a great relationship with their team to recognize that individual strength and what these potential people can bring to the group. And one thing I would love to bring up, my CEO once said, as a leader, we should be creating stars. And I will never forget when I heard
Ah,
that from him. That always stood in my brain.
yeah.
And my goal as a leader now is to inspire and empower others to just be the best that they can be, period. Just be the best that they can be. I try to push them to be the greatest. I allow them to buy into our company changes and plans while also receiving their input. And I think overall, I just respect their differences and try my best to create like that safe space where they can share their ideas and challenges. Having diverse viewpoints within the organization is also a strength. And those who differ from you in opinion should feel as valued as those aligned with you. So I respect and value each one of them. And I think that that's what many people forget to do. If you take the day out of your time to just speak to one staff member, you'll be surprised by how much you learn from them. So I truly value and respect my team. And I believe that's what leadership is about.
Yeah, oh gosh, now you're talking my language here, Jessica. Because you said a couple things about how important it is from the human aspect. You talk about relationship and you talk about the diverse opinions and how to respect those diverse opinions to bring them in to the conversation because we're so much smarter when we hear different ways of looking at the world, different ways of going after a project, those types of things. So lots of diversity in the way that you're looking at it. And then creating stars. I mean, at the end of the day, Jessica, isn't our role really to, as you said, empower our folks to help them be unique and be all that they can be, really? So, really, that's really wonderful. And, you can tell just by as you're speaking that you and me, but you as the person we're talking to here has had some people who believe that they were creating stars in you. And then we have to help the others so we can create more stars. So, Jessica, that's fabulous. That's really sweet. That's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
absolutely. So, I really am big on this whole values question. And the second question is about your values as a leader. So when I think of values, Jessica, I really think of values as really it's our core, it's our guiding light, and it's how we make decisions. And it's also what we stand for and what we stand against. And so for me, I think it's really important that leaders take time to think about their values. So I'm going to ask you, Miss Jessica, what's your top 3 values?
So respect is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And I feel, right, like respect should move in all directions. I treat upper management, our board, our employees, our miners that we serve, our maintenance team, etc., all with the respect that they deserve in order for me to also gain that respect in return.
Yes.
So I know that growing up, we always hear like treat others how you want to be treated. And I I truly believe that. I truly believe that I always want to be treated well. And I feel like everyone should be treated well, not just upper management or not just the board. It should be everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So respect is one value for me that I truly value as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I would say courageous.
Ah, I love it.
Courageous leaders are people who are able to push through uncomfortable situations, right?
Mm,
They're
yeah.
willing to make difficult decisions and not back down when things get too hard. So that does not mean that I do not get to be vulnerable. I also admit my mistakes or let them know if I cannot answer a question.
Mm.
But I am comfortable with facing issues, having uncomfortable conversations if needed, and listening, communicating, and saying what needs to be said
Ah,
while taking actions, whether it's advocating or changing my mind or whatever it is. So I truly believe that courageous is another value that is top three for me as a leader.
nice.
And I would say the third one, transparency.
Mm.
So being honest is just crucial. I mean, I do not like being lied to, nor I would respect a supervisor who I feel like is constantly keeping things from me. So I try to be as transparent with my team as I can. I know there are things obviously that I cannot disclose, but the things that I can disclose or that I can talk about, I will.
Yes.
And so I do this to help them understand the who, what, where, why.
Mm.
Many times I feel like people get upset when they hear a change from one day to the next. But if we start preparing them for it in advance, like host Q&As, include them in some of the decision making, and allow them to participate in some of these conversations, it could help us move forward as a team. So these are my top three values. I would say respect, transparency, courageous.
Yeah, love
Mm.
it, love it, love it. This whole thing around respect, treat others as you want to be treated. And what difference does it make what anybody does for a living? They're human beings, and
Exactly.
and everyone needs to be respected at the same level. So
Exactly.
and you know what? I'll tell you, Jessica, that takes courage sometimes because for obvious reasons, we're in organizations that have hierarchies and those kinds of things. And it's important that it's clear around how you view the world, and respect obviously is a big one. The other thing I'll say about what you're talking about around courageous is having those uncomfortable conversations, and that you will say what needs to be said. So
Mhm.
that isn't an easy thing to do, and people
Not at
don't want to
all.
hear it. Yeah. And then when you're in the middle of a transition or a transformation, people really don't want to do it. Those are scary to have. And yeah, honesty is always the best policy. It's so much easier, isn't it, Jessica? It's just so much
It's
easier.
so much easier. If you start lying or keeping things, then you have to remember what your lie is. Things
Exactly.
are always changing now. So it's best to just be as honest and transparent as possible.
Exactly. My dad used to say one lie leads to another, and before you know it, you forget the first lie you told.
100% agree. 100%
Exactly.
agree.
Yeah, he was a smart man, that daddy of mine. All right, great. All right, so we're currently going through an enormous amount of transition and change, and I can't imagine your organization isn't experiencing it as well. We've got the global pandemic, we've got the social awakening, we've got economic implications of both. So, how do you, Jessica, lead through transition and change? I mean, we just talked a little bit about that, but how do you do it? How do you lead through it?
I feel like I feel like this is such a good question because, we're going through it now,
Hmm.
but for an agency like where I'm at, there's always changes. There's
Yes.
always policy changes, different procedures being implemented. And I've learned that you have to be patient. You have to take a step back. You have to learn, be open to learning, be flexible, build, and just execute. As a leader, I truly believe it's imperative to just understand that you do not know it all.
Yeah.
Sometimes as a leader, you have to take a step back, ask questions, learn from your team, propose different ideas, receive different ideas and proposals, build a strong team, and know that you're in this together and just
Mhm.
execute the changes as needed.
Yeah. And you've said a couple times in a couple different ways about your team and the importance of listening. And the diversity of opinion and thought really makes a difference.
Mhm.
And if you're going to be flexible in all the changes that happens, you have to bring your team in sooner rather than later so that they can help with the solution. No question about that. And the sooner you know about a transition, the easier it is to work your way through that transition. Yeah.
Exactly. And just getting their input. Sometimes the higher you are, the less knowledgeable you are in certain aspects of, for example, the day to day. And so, how would you know to make these changes when you don't know what the day to day looks like as much as, let's say, the line staff know? And so, I think it's important to just get their opinions and just get their input.
Yeah. And the best leaders hire people who are smarter than them in their
Yes.
particular expertise. You can't be expected to know everything. You're in a leadership role so that you can lead, see the vision and execute and all those things, and work your team through accountability and transition and those types of things. But you can't know everything. And so you have to trust your employees. I mean, it goes back to the
Exactly.
transparency. They have to trust you and you have to trust them. No question about it.
Agreed.
Love it. Okay, so our fourth question. We know the best leaders are curious and they're always learning. And obviously that plays into you as you went back for additional education so you could continue to move through your organization. Tell us, what tools and resources have you used to continually grow and develop? And obviously an advanced degree was one of them.
Yes. So I went back to school. I ended up getting my master's. I ended up getting licensed. But now, as I'm in my role, it's very hard for me to find time because I'm also a new mommy.
Yeah.
So it's extremely hard. But what I do is I do love to read. I try to at least get one article per week on leadership. Just so
Music
that
to
I
my
can,
ears, Jessica, music to my ears.
just so that I can see, what else is out there, what's new. I
Yeah.
feel like there's always something new. There's always something changing. I do love watching videos on YouTube. Sometimes I'm a very visual person.
Uh-huh.
And so there are a lot of videos out there on leadership, and just interacting with other leaders is very helpful as well. Like the moment that I hear there's a networking opportunity or anything like that, if I have the time for it, I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
In our agency, I also realized that we had loads of training for staff, but none for managers. And this was a few years ago. And I developed this week-long training for managers with the help of my assistant vice presidents, who, by the way, did an amazing job. And we just created different trainings for our managers to learn from. And just creating that content for them was really helpful for me as well, as it pushed me to research different aspects of leadership. And since then, that's pretty much what I do. And that's how I continually grow.
Yeah. And the thing about what you're talking about, I mean, even creating content like that means that you have to do the research, you have to get it right, you have to think about your audience and what can they hear and what can they learn and those kinds of things. And in that you're learning all the time. There's no question about that. And I have to tell you that you are absolutely correct. There's always new stuff coming out about leadership. It is very complicated to stay up on it, which is why I love asking these 6 questions, because you learn so much. Yes, definitely. So, okay, so that's about you. Now let's talk about your team and how do you help them develop and have some growth opportunities?
So we allow our team to take training even outside of our agency. So even though we have a whole department focused on training and creating training for our team, and we offer loads of trainings at our agency, the beautiful thing about our agency is that we even pay for staff to take training outside if it's something that they are passionate about. And we always ask them, are you comfortable with bringing that here and teaching it, or just showing us what you learned? So we are open. They just need to tell us what they need or want, and we are open for that. And I feel like that's the beautiful thing about our agency, that we're not just saying, hey, you are only allowed to take training in here. We're also allowing you to take training outside. Just let me know what you find. So I feel like that's a good space where people can learn, develop, and just have different growth opportunities.
Yeah. And let me ask you around that, Jessica, so they can come to you and say, this is what I'd like to be able to do. It's on my development plan and it's outside the agency. And so that's how that works.
Yep. And
Nice.
then all we do is we ask for the cost, how much is it, and the agency pays for it if it's something that they can bring back to the agency and show their other peers or their team. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Love that. Because the teach back then, of course, just what we were just talking about, then that helps them
exactly
learn because they know that they are going to be in front of their colleagues and they want to make a good impression and make sure that they're teaching what they've learned. Love that. That's a really great way to get people to continue to educate themselves and look at development opportunities. Nice. Okay. So my last question, what piece of art or music or literature or whatever else keeps you balanced and brings you joy? Joy is the operative word here. Because, Jessica, I always think, when we work so hard and we come to work and sometimes we're exhausted and we can get burned down, those kinds of things. And I know that we have to have joy in our work and we have to bring joy to the work. So what do you do to fill up outside? So when you open that door, either figuratively or virtually, that you're filled with joy and you can have an impact. So what is it? Do tell. I know you're a new mommy, so I know that's part of it, Jessica.
Yes, it is part of it, but it's also very tiring. Oh my gosh, being a new mommy is so tiring, but I love my daughter. So I would say I love music that just brings me confidence. And sometimes when people meet me, they wouldn't believe it, but I absolutely love hip hop and rap music. And I feel like Nicki Minaj is my favorite artist, and her music brings me so much joy and just this confidence. So before having a baby, traveling also brought me joy.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to travel now with my baby, and as much as I love it, I must admit that it does not feel like a vacation yet. It's a beautiful trip, but I just feel very overwhelmed at times traveling with a 10-month-old. Can you imagine, like a 10-month-old on the plane for 8 hours? It's just
no,
very, very tough. So,
yeah.
I'm not open to leaving her yet. I'm not there yet.
No.
Like leaving her for a few days while I go vacation on my own. Maybe one day I will be like, hey, stay with my mom for like 2-3 days while I go somewhere. But I'm hoping that I get there one day because I have my parents who absolutely adore her. And hopefully I get there so that I'm able to travel for a few days and do something that I used to love to do prior to becoming a mom and coming back refreshed. But for now, I'll stick to my great music. And going to different restaurants. I love eating. So just trying new food.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. Music is joyful. Oh, that's for sure. Can you make it tap your little foot a little bit and bring a smile to the face? That's for sure.
Dancing on the bus or the train or the car.
And having people go, uh-oh,
like, oh, great
next to me. Oh, I love that. That is fabulous. So Jessica, thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts and your insight and how you really look at leadership and your values. And it's always so inspiring to hear from different people and to know that, once you kind of got your foot in that door, you knew that you wanted more and you really, decided, this, I know where I want, and I'm going to have to go back at a little bit more education. And then I can really make a difference in the world. Not that you weren't before, but as you continue, can continue to create those stars. So as SVP, you can continue to do that.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Jessica, thank you. I'm Karen Colligan, and you've been listening to Jessica Oliveira-Haddad, who is the Senior Vice President of UC TFC at Cayuga Centers. If this leadership podcast was of interest to you, go to the peoplethink.biz website and look at all the other distinguished leaders I've had the pleasure of interviewing. You're going to learn so much about the uniqueness of leadership. I know I have. And don't forget, share it with your colleagues. Till the next episode of the Let's Talk Leadership podcast, have a good one. And don't forget to keep it real. Music by Poddington Bear. Editing by Mary Lee Williams. Till the next one, have a good one. Bye now.